Hello guys. I know it's been a long while. I think it's time for me to make a new guide, slightly updated and improved combo. In this video today I will talk about the combo for the Vell's Heart, the Resplended Vell's Heart and the Splendid Vell's Heart. Once I get Shining Stone in the future, I will make a separate video for that one as well. I'm also going to share some PvE tips and tricks. I will put timestamps of the combos, etc. in the descriptions below. Let's start straight away with the setup. Your add-ons, your Lightstone set, your Reforged Stones. And for the Lightstone set, you want to use Deathblow, because we're using certain skills with very low critical hit rate, such as our passive, your E Naildown, backwards RMB Fire Spread, and F Wood Stake. For the Reforged Stones, you want to use the following: AP, critical hit rate, crit damage, like Spirit Rage recovery, and back attack damage. I also almost forgot to show you guys the skill add-ons, so here you go. Now, let's go take a look at the combos, and we're going to start with the Vell's Heart combo. And in this combo, you want to use 2 Alucas crystals and 2 Akrat crystals for optimal performance when you are over the AP cap. If you are below the AP cap, you always want to stack more AP. And the combo will look like this. You start with backwards RMB, which is your fire spread. Then you do F until attack 2, followed by Shift E plus the flow. Backwards LMB, backwards Q, backwards RMB, Shift LMB without the flow, Shift Q, E, Shift RMB, Shift F, backwards RMB, F, and then you repeat the combo starting again with Shift E and the flow. If you have your zbuff active, you want to use the flows of Shift LMB and Shift RMB, and always fully use F. And now I will demonstrate the combo with quick inputs, and this is for the Vell's Heart combo. Alright, let's move on to the Resplended Vell's Heart. For this combo, you want to use 2 Alucas and 2 Akrats, ideally, if you are over the AP cap. This combo will also be nearly identical to the normal Vell's Heart, except that here you're going to use Shift LMB's flow, even without zbuff active. And it will look like this. Also, similar to the normal Vell's Heart, you use all the flows when you have your zbuff active. And lastly, I will show you guys the Splendid Stone combo. The ideal speed for this combo is 2 Akrat crystals and only 1 Alucas crystal. Here the combo will change a little bit, and it will look as following: backwards RMB, F until attack 2, Shift E plus the flow, S LMB, SQ, as RMB, Shift LMB, RMB 1 hit, Shift Q, E, Shift RMB, Shift F, backwards RMB, F 2 hits, or attack 2. And it will look like this. And that's it. That is the combo for all the 3 alchemy stones. Now we will go into tips and tricks for PvE. Pay attention, because this part is going to really improve your grind performance after some practice. And first off, you want to disable your aim assistance. And you want to put SRMB on your hotbar. This will avoid the game from prioritizing your backwards block if you want to use the skill. The reason why we turn off aim assist is so that we can aim our ranged abilities in a controlled way and to make sure our AoEs hit the enemies from the back. And the AoEs are going to do the majority of the back attacks for us since we are a slow class. Dodging is not the optimal way to play. For every dodge you do, you could simply use another skill instead and just keep dealing damage unless the boss or elite mob is doing a long animation. And here dodging behind when you're not going to use nail down is optimal. And I'm going to demonstrate here how you should use nail down. So if the monster is going to attack you and you are using Shift Q, you want to kind of look to the side of it and then dodge behind it this way. And that will give you a free back attack on backwards RMB. And if you are behind the mob and you need to use nail down and you don't want to jump in front of the mob, you can kind of flick your camera when you use E to stay behind the mob. And it would look something like this. It's a bit tricky to learn, but once you get the hang of it, it's super easy. Now, the next part is really important because a lot of players don't fully understand it. So I'm going to explain exactly how the AoEs work in the game. And to start off, the AoE is its own entity the moment the marker is placed through any elemental skill and after every ending of your animation. This means that if you cancel your abilities before the animation ends, you will not place down an elemental marker. And I'll quickly show it to you. I'll use backwards Q and then dodge midway. And you'll see you'll not place a marker. I'll just wait for the cooldown and then completely finish the animation. And you can see here the marker is placed. However, the activation, right, of the element will always happen at the start of your skill. So if I press Shift R and B, that was a little bit too slow there. No problem, we'll just press another skill. So at the start of the animation, you will activate the AoE. And the AoEs will also not activate in the following situations. When an enemy is in an iframe status, when there is a party or platoon member nearby, when there are no nearby enemies. So it only basically activates when there is a hittable enemy near the marker. So you cannot activate your AoEs basically on allies or party members. They'll get the buff if the AoE went off when there's an enemy nearby, but you cannot activate it solely on a platoon member. And now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the details, and I'm going to tell you more about the damage application of the AoEs. So every AoE does 3 pulses with 5 ticks of damage, and the first pulse will do the tick damage of number 1 and 2, and then the third tick of the AoE starts in the middle of the second pulse. And the last tick will apply after the third pulse disappears. So even if the AoE visually ends, there's still going to be 1 tick of damage or buff happening. And then later on, I found out that the AoEs can be extended with another 5 ticks using the same element before the 5th tick. However, after the 5th tick of the AoE, it will visually disappear, but still do the remaining 4 ticks without any visual hints on the same spot. So when you use the same type of element on the 5th tick, it will reactivate itself visually, resulting in seeing the same AoE activating twice. And it's all very timing sensitive, because after the 5th tick you have approximately 1.5 seconds of time to reactivate or lengthen the same AoE. I'll quickly show it to you. So I'll do fire, right? Wood, wait for the 3 pulses, and then activate it again. See? The AoE is also a lot bigger than you might think, because the actual AoE size is the pulses that you see, and not the rotating circle you see visually. So now that you know you can reactivate the same AoE, you also understand why if you would do Earth, Fire, it will result in you seeing 2 of the same Earth AoEs on the last Fire skill that you used. And the AoE's damage increases through all available buffs in the game, which means your consumables, your crystal, your BSR, your self buff. And it also shares the AP cap on grind spots, so stacking more AP over cap will not make the AoEs do more damage in PvE. AoEs also deal back attack damage, and you might wonder, why are you not using darkness crystals? And if you use back attack crystals, your skills themselves will lose a lot of damage because you're mostly hitting the enemies from the front with your input abilities, like Shift Q and Shift F. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about with the AoEs, which was the most important part. If you guys have any more questions about this, by the way, feel free to leave a comment and I'll happily explain it further to you in maybe a more easier way. Alright, since we've talked about the AoEs now, I want to quickly talk about the F ability. Because when you see me talk about attack 2, it's basically because the skill itself is broken down into 3 different segments. Attack 1, attack 2, and attack 3. And basically attack 1 is the kick and stab. Attack 2 is a frontal circular AoE, and then attack 3 is the palm strike, right? So attack 1 kick stab, attack 2 frontal AoE, and then attack 3 the palm strike. Next up is dodging. There are certain abilities that make you dodge less further away for tighter repositioning when you are getting hit accelerated by mobs, meaning that if you are taking hits from the mobs, your animations will be faster. And the following abilities will make you dodge less further away when you're taking a lot of hits from mobs. And that's going to be Shift E, Shift LMB, backwards RMB, backwards Q, and F. And then lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about your self buff and what to do during zbuff. And during your zbuff, you want to always use your 10% Fire Blaze in order to maximize damage even further. Only use this when you have the duration of the zbuff available, right? So only during zbuff you use the 10% Fire Blaze, and you never use Elemental Invocation together with the zbuff. And the reason for this is that you nearly cap out on critical hit rate from the zbuff, and this is where your big damage increase comes from mostly. So you want to alternate using your zbuff and your self buff to maximize the critical hit rate time in total. That's basically it. Now it's time for you to practice. And once you get this down, I guarantee your overall grind performance is going to increase. Again, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate, leave a comment. You can also find me live streaming on Twitch. You can ask your questions there as well. I'd be happy to answer them. And then next up is going to be PvP. Now for PvP, I'm just going to give you some general tips that can potentially help you out. And for PvP in general, this class has a very high skill ceiling and it's difficult to play due to the large amount of caps while you want to deal damage. So positioning is very important. Try to get the high ground on places as well where enemies need to take extra time to get to you. And basically your role as this class is you're a backline flank support damage dealer. You are not a frontliner. You are not the main hero on this class. Your constant movement is key as well, which is going to be your strong point in PvP. And for movement, for example, you can use this combo, which is going to be forward F into SC, into backwards F, spacebar, LMB, left or right RMB, back into forward F, into backwards E, into LMB, into shift space, LMB, backwards F, and you repeat. Like this. And you can just infinitely rotate your movement like this. Super easy. Alright, now it's time for the last segment, which is going to be PvP. And I'm just going to give you some general tips and tricks that could help you out. PvP in general on this class is really difficult. Skill ceiling is quite high due to the amount of gaps you have when you want to deal damage, so repositioning is also very important. Try to get the high ground whenever you can, so enemies take extra time to get to you. And basically your role in PvP is like this. You are not a frontliner. You are a backline flank damage support class. So constant movement is also key, and that's one of our strong points. If you have time before combat starts, you can use forward RMB to pre-buff yourself with special attack damage. Or chances to properly CC an enemy are quite low. I personally lean more towards critical hit rate, crit damage, cast speed, minus 20 DP uptime. Gonna show my add-ons on screen. These are not really final yet. I've still been like experimenting a lot myself, but I've been using this for the majority of time now. On Shift Q, my Taguk, I have bleed and cast speed because our skills are naturally slow. So having damage over time on the enemy for 27 seconds gives us plenty of high pressure while lowering the HP regeneration of the enemy. And my main playstyle is to wingman a Q-block class, a grab class, or a class with high stamina cost. So decent class knowledge is actually required to play this class. You also want to try and take full advantage of your AoEs. You want to stick around mid-range when your teammates are moving around. So when you're wingmanning a person, you want to stick around mid-range. And then when they stop and attack, you want to use your Shift Q and Shift RMB in pre-awakening to stay protected and not to waste too much stamina. And when you see your teammate is engaging, you start with Shift E from close to mid-range. And after that, you take distance dodging, and then you use Shift LMB. So let's say your enemy is attacking this dummy. You would use Shift E mid-range, take distance, do Shift LMB to trigger the buff for your ally, deal damage and debuff the enemy, and then also try to CC the enemy. And you want to use the flow as well, right? So you want to do Shift LMB flow. Alternatively, backwards LMB is also an option. You then jump in, Shift Q, spacebar, you get out. Always create distance. And then you kind of, after you've done that, you need to look around and see if nobody is looking at you. And if someone is looking to CC you, you want to start kiting, so you're always safe. And when you're safe, you want to start applying more pressure to the enemy, and that's where you're going to use your Shift RMB, Fire Blaze 10%, with the flow together with backwards RMB. So like this. And then you can either choose to do F to activate the AoE, or you can also do Shift F. Or you can do both. If you're good with the AoEs and their timings, you can reactivate it twice, of course. The Shift F is not really a good damage dealer skill, so you might as well use that to stay protected and then activate the AoE from range. Also, do not neglect the AoEs, right? They do a solid amount of DPS in PvP, and the strongest tool of this class is your DPS pressure, not your CC pressure. Attempting to CC is always really good, of course, but in the current nearly full SA meta and the slow casting abilities we have, the chances of you landing a solid CC doesn't happen often. You want to prioritize applying pressure and having presence, and then always try to CC. And that's going to be it for the whole guide. I hope it was helpful to you guys. Sorry it took a long time to make a new guide. Hopefully, I'll see you on the next one. I don't see myself making another guide until the class sees more changes. Like, everything now is quite final. Maybe for the PvP segment, something might still change. Of course, when I get the Shining Stone, I will make another guide for the Shining version. But for now, this is going to be it for a while, until the class itself sees some changes. Since it's been since 2024 since this class got PvE changes, for example. And I'm pretty much at the limit of what I can squeeze out of it. Thank you guys. I wish you all a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, night, or day. Bye-bye.